Daytona International Speedway, otherwise known as the World Center of Racing. A place that has so much cherished history, and tonight, on our very first race of the year, we're getting ready to add on to that illustrious history. 33 drivers have come to Daytona very excited and poised to get the 2023 racing season underway, and they're all sitting on the front stretch heading into the infield road course turn number 1 to get the green flag on this brand new year. Our front row, which consists of the number 3 of Alex Bonsignor and the number 10 of Henrik Wedderdahl from Sweden, will lead the other 31 competitors to the green flag and charging hard into the turn in the first corner. Man, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just really excited, and my brain is just going so fast. And it's been a while since I've done this, so I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. But we're getting ready to go here at the Daytona International Speedway. Should be fun, should be wild, but it also should be very exciting to see these drivers battle for 30 laps of speed, endurance, and attrition, and also have to go through pit stops as well and try to get some really, try to get some good pit stops, and hope that your strategy plays out the best, and potentially you might end up in the winner's circle or get a really good finish out of this to start off the year. It's going to be fun. The drivers are strapped into their cars. Pre-race ceremonies are just now starting to wrap up. But in order to get these 33 drivers rolling off onto the racetrack, we got to get the command to fire the engines.
Drivers, start your engines!
Engines are fired, pace cars rolling off, and so are these 33 drivers. And as they roll around the racetrack for their one and only pace lap, here's your starting lineup for the running of the 2023 Rolex Sports Car Challenge. The field is getting ready to start here at the Daytona International Speedway. They're on the back straightaway, heading into the bus stop. The nerves are getting rather high as we're approaching the start of the inaugural Rolex Sports Car Challenge. My phone is updating, so it'll be a little while before I can actually get the entry list in my hands. But as you see there on the front row, that is the number 3 of Alex Bonsignor, and also Henrik Wedderdahl, and that number 10, Jack Baker, and Zach Visser line up in row 2. Row 3, 93, that is Tico Jimiaka, and then also in that blue number 07, 007, that is Joshua Cornish completing the top 6. Do apologize if I'm stuttering a little bit, so it has been a little while, so do bear with me. They come through the NASCAR chicane back onto the start-finish line. Pace car is in. Bonsignor and Wedderdahl on the front row. They lead him to green, and here we go. The 2023 racing season is underway. Ooh, Jack Baker got really close to hitting that inside wall there as they went through those S's. But he's able to take away second position from Henrik Wedderdahl, who now slips back into third and is going to be under fire from Tico Jumiaka for that third spot. He's currently sitting in fourth now. But the 19, that's Jareth Hayden. Hayden now has moved up inside of the top 5. And Joshua Cornish holding on into the 6th position as we speak. There goes Zach Visser. Visser, who started 4th, has slipped back. I want to say that's all the way back into the 7th position. We got a battle on track. Cornish underneath of Hayden. That is the battle for the 5th position. And he's going to easily get it. Cornish up to 5th. Here they come down the chicane for the very first time on the back straightaway. Just want to make sure everybody gets through here pretty flawlessly. They're going side by side with Marion Judicia and also Alec Waller. Waller's going to get the position, or will he? Here comes Judicia right back at it on the inside. Marion Judicia, a former Indianapolis 100 winner back in 2017, will be competing in this race as well as the Indianapolis 100 later this year. Man, look at Waller just send it right on in as they come across the start-finish line this time by. Bonsignor pretty easily led lap number 1. But this is actually a pretty interesting battle right over here, which is settled down for the moment. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Judicia get right back down there on the inside. There she goes. And is she going to take that position away? Ooh, came close to hitting the wall, but she got it. Marion Judicia is going to take away. That was the 20th position from Alec Waller, now going after Gavin Poley in that 23 car for 19th. So far, pretty impressive battle, needless to say, in the early stages of the Rolex Sports Car Challenge right here at Daytona. But everybody, for the most part, has settled down into single file formation. Waller right now is kind of playing defense, blocking off Felix Jensen in that 28. Talking about Felix Jensen, Jensen will be not only competing in this race, but he'll be attempting every single WLA Pepsi Cup Series race later this year in 2023, driving a number 29, since 28 has been taken up by Trinity River Racing and their 4-car stable, which will be piloted by John Andrews in the number 28. Want to wish him the best of luck in his return to the WLA Pepsi Cup Series, and we also want to wish Jensen the best of luck in attempting all the races this year. So top 10, as you can see right there, Bonsignor is still in control, 2 laps complete. Jack Baker currently sits in second. The number 10 of Henrik Wedderdahl is third. Then you also have Tico Jumiaka sitting in fourth. Cornish fifth. Jareth Hayden in sixth. Oh, I think we had a little bit of an accident. I do see some skid marks just in that part of the racetrack. I wonder if there's somebody on pit road. Maybe not. But we'll definitely have to go back and take a look at that once this race concludes. But number 81, Zach Visser 7th. Seth Roush in the number 911 Porsche currently sits 8th. Glenn Richardson in 9th. And completing your top 10, that is Josiah Hayden in the 18. Both the 18 and 19 look pretty much, they are the exact same paint scheme. Both Porsches. But both the Hayden brothers are currently right now sitting inside of the top 10 as we speak, 6th and 10th. But you see that gap, you see the gaps that are in between some of these drivers, at least 0.4 of a second separate Bonsignor, Baker, Wedderdahl, Jumiaka, and also Cornish. But I wouldn't say the same for Hayden, because Jareth Hayden is pretty decently close to the back bumper of the 07, or the 007, excuse me. But so far, other than seeing some skid marks at the very beginning, towards the very beginning part of this course, there really hasn't been a whole lot of action that has plagued some of these other drivers' days. I might have to go back through and take a look and see where who has the damage, because it's mostly driver's side damage. on the car. Well, on a car, on somebody's car, but not 100% sure on who that would have been, but nonetheless, we still have 33 cars still on track and, you know, still participating in this race nonetheless. Richardson went way wide through that corner, and that's going to enable Josiah Hayden to drive to the inside, or at least try to take over ninth, but that's not going to quite happen. Richardson retains the ninth position. But he might go a little bit wide here. Maybe not. No, he doesn't. Josiah Hayden might be under fire from the 22 car. That is Logan Cross. But then again, Cross might be under fire from, I think that's the 30. No, that's the 48, Rick Scott. But everybody right now is still minding their own P's and Q's. It is very early in this race. Another thing that we're going to have to talk, that we're easily going to talk about in this race, is pit stops. And pit stops are not too far out from here. Expect that pit window to open right around lap 8 to right around lap 8, probably close right around lap 12. So 8 to 10, maybe 11, 12 laps. That is what the pit window is going to be. But Bonsignor and that number 3 has been in command ever since the drop of the green flag. Nobody's been able to pass him. But Bonsignor also hasn't been able to really quite pull away from everybody else. Baker has been able to sit right there. Henrik Wedderdahl in that number 10 has been able to sit in that third position. But he's been doing every single driver here has been doing everything possible to just kind of mind their own P's and Q's, kind of ride. Because a good portion of these drivers know that you're not going to be able to win this race on the last lap. Everybody's definitely taking that into account. So they're just riding. They're just kind of riding. That's all they're doing. Nothing much is really happening, but once pit stops come around, I do expect some strategies to be split. So there will be maybe a gigantic chunk of drivers that will come down pit road and probably get some service done, of course, 4 tires, fuel. But as the race goes on, I would not be surprised if the strategy becomes even more split. Coming around, 5 laps complete this time by. Nothing much has really happened. Do apologize. I was on my phone there, just getting it restarted and everything. Let's take a look at 11th through 20th. Cross still sitting in 11th. Rick Scott 12th. The 63, that is Tristan Leonard. He is 13th. The 17, I believe that is Austin Kane. Let me go ahead and get my handy-dandy entry list out. And yes, it is. Austin Kane currently sits in the 14th position. Then the 62, Samuel Arce. In the second Ferrari, he currently sits 15th. 16th is the 33 of Spencer Asbury. 17th is the 4 car of Caleb Hoffman. 18th, 009. The 009 machine, that is David Cornish. 23 car, Gavin Poley sits 19th. Mira Judicia completes the top 20. But I do expect some of those drivers, once pit stops begin, as I mentioned before, to pull some interesting strategies and work their way up, trying to kind of break inside of the top 10. I wouldn't be that surprised if that were to be the case, but if it were drivers that started way in the back, that might be the case. Because hell, you might have some drivers that may have started way in the back, and pit strategy might go their way, and they could wound up inside of the top 15, top 10. It's happened before. It might have happened before with some other drivers in other series that kind of do this. that have pulled some pit strategy and have moved their way up inside of the top 10. So it's going to be interesting. But we're a fifth of the way through. A little over a fifth of the way through. Yeah, we're pretty much a fifth of the way through this race. Bonsignor has about a 2/3 of a second advantage over Jack Baker when they crossed the line this past lap. Some of these drivers are getting pretty loose going through those S's. You see right there, Hoffman got the after effects of that one, but currently still sitting 17th, and if he's not careful, he might be under fire from David Cornish here pretty soon. But I would not. But at the same time, I wouldn't count for David Cornish to pull up to the back bumper of that number 4 and get right on by him, because Hoffman is for sure a proven veteran. A proven racing veteran. So I would not expect Hoffman to make a lot of mistakes here in this event. Especially on a road course like Daytona. Had a little bit of a phlegm buildup. Do apologize there. But we're still rolling. And we are next lap around. I think we might be approaching that. Well, we're going to approach it now. Pit stops are now taking place. Bonsignor leads Jack Baker, Henrik Wedderdahl, Jumiaka, Josiah Cornish. I keep saying think of Josiah. It's actually Joshua Cornish. Then there's Jareth Hayden, Zach Visser, Seth Roush, Glenn Richardson, and also Josiah Hayden and everybody else coming down pit road. Let's see who all stayed out on the racetrack. I see the number 01. This is Mats Clausen. Looks like Clausen stayed out on track, but he is way far back from everybody else. I believe so. Now I think it's Gavin Poley. Marion Judicia stayed out. I believe this is, it's 24 car. 24 BMW. That is Steve Orton. Orton has stayed out. So now he'll be scored third. 3-car Alex Bonsignor comes out with everybody else. Henrik Wedderdahl's teammate. Oh, had a little bit of dust kick up. Oh, what's going on here? Hoffman and Fitzwater, both of them making some pretty interesting contact coming back out onto the racetrack. Not entirely sure what could have caused that one, but nonetheless, I believe Mats Clausen in the 01 will eventually have to come down to pit road. Either he already made his pit stop or he is yet to make his pit stop. We'll just have to wait and see once he comes back around towards the start-finish line. But I believe Poley and also Marion Judicia will both have to come down pit road, and they're going to peel off and do just that. Steve Orton will follow, and this is going to give the lead back to Alex Bonsignor. I want to make sure of something real quick. Okay. Oop. Just want to make sure. Didn't really miss a lot there, but still nonetheless. Do apologize for that. I just wanted to make sure that my mic was still working. So Bonsignor is going to get the lead back. And I believe Clausen, let's take a look at Clausen here and see if he has to come down pit road or if he's already made a stop. He's not stopping, so he might have already made a stop, or he's stretching his luck out there just a little bit. But Alex Bonsignor goes back to the point. And Jack Baker still sits in that second position. Henrik Wedderdahl third. Pretty much everything inside of the top 10 other than Gavin Poley we might make a little change here. Gavin Poley is getting by Seth Roush. I believe that would be for the 7th position. Might be for the 7th position, but Gavin Poley has moved his way up inside of the top 10. We'll just have to wait and see for confirmation once they cross the start-finish line this time by. But nonetheless, top 10 mostly has remained unchanged. Marion Judicia in the 51. Remember, she was all the way back in 20th. And she is now, under fire from Logan Cross, who's trying to get by Judicia around the outside. Not sure if that's going to work. It might work into his favor once they go down the chicane right here on the front straightaway, but I'm not 100% sure here. Let's see. And no, he's still under fire from Rick Scott. But Cross is going to give that position to Rick Scott. Scott, a proven road racing veteran. Got a couple drivers that were kind of down on the apron. One of them was Samuel Arce. The other one was Steve Orton. I'm not 100% sure why, but nonetheless, they're still on track. It's not that they're actually causing trouble or anything. It's kind of out of the ordinary. But yes, you see right there, Visser. Well, no, not Visser. Excuse me. Poley, Gavin Poley in the 23 is currently 8th. Judicia, Marion Judicia has moved up into the 13th position. And I believe Alec Waller might have had a little bit of strategy play into his favor. He is in the 12th spot right now. Not a bad night right now for any of those 3 drivers that I just mentioned. Poley, Judicia, Waller. They've all moved up pretty much inside, comfortably, either inside of the top 10, top 15. Not bad. Glenn Richardson, however, did lose a position. So did Seth Roush, of course. So that pretty much kicks Seth Roush, Glenn Richardson, and also Josiah Hayden back to 9th, 10th, and 11th. As you saw Poley move up into the 8th spot via pit strategy. Not much to miss up front, except for the top 2 have pulled away by about 2 seconds over 3rd place Henrik Wedderdahl. But Bonsignor, nonetheless, also has been in command of this race since the drop of the green flag. And we're 2/3 of the way through here at Daytona. Let's take a look back through the field. Rick Scott got a little bit loose going through those S's and now into this right-hander. But Logan Cross went from 14th back to 16th, or 15th, excuse me, after he was trying to wrestle the 13th spot away from Marion Judicia. But Judicia was not going to have any of it. And also Cross kind of went into that chicane on the front straightaway a little bit slower, but they were still able to stay out of trouble, but unfortunately he lost a spot from that. But at the same time, it's not entirely bad. It's not the end of the world. Pretty much everybody's still riding exactly where they are. But nonetheless, other than what we might have seen at the very beginning of the race with those skid marks in through those S's, there might have been a chance that there might have been somebody that might have had a wreck. I'm not sure if it's this number 32 of Noah Clifton. But Clifton is way back here. He's on the tail end of the lead lap. Nobody's really off the pace. But everybody's just really spread out. Single file. Doing all they can to kind of keep their cars straight and intact for 30 laps and make sure that you don't go off the course. Kind of like what Jack Baker almost did there in that 912 Porsche. But Baker still holds on. We're still good to go. Pit stops will once again come around for these drivers. And the strategies might be a little bit more split than what they were before. So I wouldn't expect all of these drivers to come in nearly at the exact same time. But as laps go on, some drivers come in. Then the next lap comes around. Another group will come in. And then so on and so on and so on. Pretty much everybody is separated by at least 7 to 8 tenths of a second. With the exception of the front three. A third of a second between Baker and Bonsignor. 4 tenths of a second between Baker and Wetterdahl. Then another 6, yeah, pretty much 6 to about 8 tenths. With the exception of the front two, of course. Not much to miss right now. Bonsignor still leads. If you're just tuning in, Alex Bonsignor is leading the inaugural Rolex Sports Car Challenge. With Jack Baker currently sitting in second. Then third is Henrik Wetterdahl. Fourth, Tico Jumiakas. Fifth, and completing your top five is the 007 of Joshua Cornish. That is your top five as we speak. There really hasn't been any sort of incidents that have eliminated any drivers, but there has been one in particular. If you had also saw the skid marks just through those S's shortly after turn 1 heading into the road course. We're going to go back and show you what happened once this race concludes. But nobody has really gone out of the race. Nobody has smelled what the rock was cooking. It's all been Alex Bonsignor, as I mentioned, since the drop of the green flag. And we are closing in on our next round of green flag stops within these next couple of laps. So I would not be surprised, as I said, if strategies were a little bit more split than what they were before. But yeah, I don't know what else to really say here. I mean, it's just the top two that are pretty much separated. Top two are pretty much separated from third place and then some on back. A complete 2-second advantage that Baker has over third place Henrik Wetterdahl. That's just between second and third. But as they come through the chicane, pretty much everybody has been right where they were. Ooh. This is an interesting strategy right here. Alec Waller comes down pit road. He is the first of which I see that is actually coming into the pits. How about Ty Conti in her first ever Motors Auto race? She's now in the pits. And also Mads Clausen follows. So as far as Clausen is concerned, I saw him way back, because by the time that the leaders were making their pit stops, he was already on the back straightaway. Either that, or I think he was already on the front stretch by the time they were making their pit stops, but he must have already come down and made his stop the lap prior. That was back on lap number, when these leaders were starting lap number 7, but you see those three cars, Conti, Clausen, and as well as Waller, they have all pulled out. They're all coming back out onto the racetrack. So we should expect these drivers to come in at this time by. So watch for that as they work their way through NASCAR 3 and 4. And we're going to watch and see if Bonsignor and Jack Baker pull off. No, they don't. How about these next three? Nope. How about these next three? Nope. So far, not a lot of takers coming down the pits this time around. We are on the halfway lap of the Rolex Sports Car Challenge. We got a car coming into pit road. I believe 45, Matthew Fales. Fales is coming into the pits. See who's joining him. Caleb Hoffman in that number 4 is on pit road. And also the number 32, that is Noah Clifton. So another 3 cars have now come into the pits. So as we're working this halfway lap, we should see maybe another group of drivers come down to pit road. Maybe this next coming group will be a little bit smaller compared to pretty much 90% of the entire field, which came down to pit road at least first time, at least on that first stop. At least 90% of the field came down into the pits, but with strategies being a little bit more split now amongst the crews and the drivers, we might not expect a bigger group of cars to come down pit road like we did back on lap number 7. So we'll just have to watch and see how many cars are actually going to come down pit road. Let's start off with our 2 leaders, Bonsinger and Baker. They do peel off of the chicane and they do come onto pit road. Wedderdahl, Jumiaka, Cross are going to follow. And so will Visser, Hayden. Ooh, okay. So Gavin Poley and also Seth Roush, they stay out. Jareth Hayden comes down pit road along with Zach Visser. There's Glenn Richardson coming in. Josiah Hayden is in. Judicia stays out. Rick Scott comes in. Logan Cross, Tristan Leonard. Also the 17 of Austin Kane. The 62 car of Samuel Arcee. Asbury. Oh, a little bit of contact between Jensen and David Cornish, that 009. There's Zachary Fitzwater, who will be running the full WLA Pepsi Cup Series schedule in 2023. And that very number 98. Want to wish him the best of luck next year. There's Evelyn Zettelmeyer coming out of her pit stall. Ooh, it might have gotten also held up by Felix Jensen, who was also leaving his pit box. So there are a few other drivers that have yet to come down pit road. Miriam Judicia, one of them. And the same goes for Gavin Poley. And also the 911 Porsche of Seth Roush. Here we go. Just wanted to open up a Pepsi so that way you didn't have to hear that. Past halfway. 15 down, 15 laps to go. So now we should see this next group of cars coming onto pit road. That's going to stretch back from Gavin Poley all the way back to Marion Judicia. I believe Steve Orton also made his pit stop with this group. Let's see if he comes in with them. Yes, he does. He peels off. And once again, the lead is going to go back to Alex Bonsignor once this round of green flag stops are complete. So let's follow back in with Alex Bonsignor, who has pretty much been extremely dominant once this race started. He started on the pole, and he has not looked back ever since. He really hasn't had to use the rearview mirror as much. He really hasn't. But his teammate, Caleb Hoffman, is all the way back here. Remember, he made his pit stop a couple laps earlier. So he might be a little ways off the pace. Well, back all the way back in 33rd position. Dead last. Oh, wow. Must have had a absolutely abysmal pit stop for the number 4 of Caleb Hoffman. He's just crossing the start-finish line now. He is 11 seconds back from second to last Ty Conti. My goodness, that is a tough break for the number 4 of Caleb Hoffman. If you're just tuning in and you're wondering why Caleb Hoffman is back in dead last, he started this race back around 17th. I actually do have the starting grid right here. He actually started 14th in this race, fell back to 17th. He rode there for a good portion of the event, but now he's slipped all the way back into 33rd position right there, dead last. So unfortunately, he must not have had as good of a pit stop as he would have hoped for. And we are past halfway, but he has one more chance to rebound, and that will be the final round of green flag stops, which will most likely begin on lap 23. And we're just 6 laps away from doing just that. But Bonsignor takes the lead back. We're going to give you your top 10 as this scoring, as the ticker updates. Bonsignor is your leader. Baker goes back into second. Henrik Wedderdahl goes back to third. Tico Jimiaka fourth. David Cornish completes the top 5 in the 007. He is fifth. Seth Roush actually had himself a really impressive pit stop. By staying out with everybody else, he currently still sits in the 6th position. Running 7th, Gavin Poley. He's just picked up another spot on Jareth Hayden, who now goes back to 8th. 9th is the number 81 of Zach Visser. And Steve Orton, a brilliant call just to come down pit road with that last group. He currently sits inside of the 10th position, so not a bad call there from Steve Orton. And that 24 BMW. So now that kicks Glenn Richardson out of the top 10. He's out on the outside looking in the 11th spot. Miriam Judicia really didn't go anywhere. Actually, no, she kind of did. Where did she go? Where did she go? Oh, my. That's where she went. She must have had a severe amount of damage on that number 51, and now she's kicked all the way back into dead last. I wonder what happened. We're going to have to go back and see once this race concludes. So that's another replay that we're going to have to take a look at. But what a tough break from Marion Judicia. Had a really good race going on. I mean, she had a really good pit strategy and everything. Was running 13th at the time of when she was being scored. But now, unfortunately, the woes have come up for Marion Judicia. That is a heartbreaker right there. 12 laps to go here in the 2023 Rolex Sports Car Challenge to get the 2023 racing season underway, at least on our neck of the woods. Want to remind you guys that coming up next Sunday will not only be pole qualifying for the throwback Daytona 500, but will also be the Busch Clash, which will take place at noon Eastern. Qualifying will be right after that. That will be handled off air. We'll give you the updates as soon as everything concludes. We'll give you the front row for the Daytona 500. And then later on throughout this next week, we'll have practice for all 52 entries. And then we'll also have the Twin 125s Thursday. Final practice, final Daytona 500 practice will be held on Friday. Nothing to be held for Saturday. And then Sunday, February 12th, will be the running of the Daytona 500 that will be happening all right here on the Elijah Leonard YouTube channel. I want to make sure that you guys are jam-packed with racing, at least for this portion of at least for Speed Weeks, to get our 2023 racing season started. And hope you guys can tune in for those races. I think it's definitely going to be a barn burner when we get to the Daytona 500 weekend. Daytona 500 prep leading on to the Great American Race. It's definitely going to be fun. 2/3 of a second between Baker and Bonsignor when they crossed the start-finish line that last time around. But Bonsignor right now, as I mentioned, the only way he's going to lose this race is if he has a really bad pit stop that's going to derail him back to second, or maybe even have a pit road mishap or have an accident on pit road that'll take him out of contention. But one driver for sure out of contention, as I mentioned before, Miriam Judicia. She's just now entering turn 1. Now, once this final round of green flag pit stops wrap up, she might be a factor. But I'm not going to say 100% for sure that she will be, but she very well might be a factor by the time the white flag waves. So want to watch for that. They come through the chicane once again. Not a lot of change. But definitely a heartbreaker for Miriam Judicia, who is very poised and ready to go to get this year underway. And just unfortunately, it's not going to get off to a really good start. It's not going to start off on a high note, is what I meant to say. But it very well might start off on a high note for Alex Bonsignor, who has 10 more laps. If he wants to win it here at Daytona, he's got to be flawless from here on. Baker is actually taken off a couple tenths from Bonsignor's lead, but he just messed up right there. You saw him get a little bit sideways, and that's going to allow Bonsignor to pull away just a little bit. Joshua Cornish in that 007 might be shaping up to try to take that 4th spot away from Tico Gimiaka if Gimiaka's not careful. But Gimiaka, a proven road racer in his own right. Born and raised in Tokyo, Japan. That's where he got most of his racing experience. But he's definitely competed in Formula 1 as well as IMSA as well, so he's definitely knows a thing or two about racing on the road courses. But right now, he's currently still hanging on to that 4th position, doing a very nice job, and he really hasn't moved from that 4th spot ever since the drop of the green flag. Well, ever since they completed lap number 1. From then on, he's been sitting inside of that top 5 all race long, as has everybody else. But at least most everybody else. A couple shockers, of course, to me. I might be over-exaggerating, but Seth Roush, Jack Baker's teammate, currently sitting in that 6th position. Gavin Poley, who started all the way back in 25th in this race. He's currently up to 7th. And then you also have Steve Orton. And Orton ended up starting dead last in this race, and he's inside of the top 10. Here we go. Final round of green flag stops are just now getting started. Spencer Asbury leads Alec Waller into the pits. And 35, Evelyn Zettelmeyer is going to join him, as well as the 01 of Mads Clausen. Ty Conti makes some contact with Evelyn Zettelmeyer. And Conti will get started with her pit stop, and Evelyn Zettelmeyer is going to finish, and she is down and away. They probably checked that right front fender on that 35 of that Audi. I always called it a Mitsubishi Lancer, but my brain's going a million miles an hour. That is an Audi. I can confirm that is an Audi. But Evelyn Zettelmeyer has just been really excited. She's got herself in amazing tip-top shape, and she has been poised and ready to get 2023 underway. Things haven't quite panned out the way that she wanted to in this race, but nonetheless, she's still keeping the car straight, bringing it back in one piece, and if she can do that for these next 9 laps, she might be able to get this season started off on a pretty decent note. So now let's see who else is going to come down pit road. Not these leaders. About 3rd through 5th. Not quite. Roush is going to peel off. He'll head to pit road. Steve Orton is going to follow. So that's 2 cars so far. The number 45, Matthew Fales, is coming in, as well as Noah Clifton. And I believe let's pay attention to Caleb Hoffman. See if he comes down. Yes, Caleb Hoffman breaks off. He'll be heading to pit road. So on this lap, we're definitely going to see a lot of our leaders come down pit road. A good portion of our leaders are going to come down pit road. There might be a few more cars that pitted last time with our leaders that very well might stay out this time by, kind of stretch it out a little bit, but I can't guarantee that's exactly what's going to happen, but that's just my guess. They'll be coming around for 7 laps to go this time by. And then, I mean, of course, our final round of green flag pit stops, they've just gotten started, so our leaders are going to come around and make their money stop. But unless if he actually makes a mistake on pit road, unless if his crew makes a mistake on pit road, Bonsinger has got this race pretty much locked up in the bag. Here he comes with Jack Baker on into the pits. Wetterdall, Jumiaka, Cornish, they all come down. Poley's going to stay out. Jareth Hayden as well as Zach Visser. Richardson come in. Richardson, they're in. Rick Scott is in. Josiah Hayden. And a good portion of these other drivers are coming down pit road. Remember, Orton already made his pit stop along with these other drivers. So a good portion of these other drivers. But Marion Judicia, who would have stayed out on track with drivers like Gavin Poley, which I believe she still did just that, but she is going to be, of course, way off the pace compared to everybody else. And she might, I don't think she'll rejoin on the track with everybody else, at least in the same position on track with everybody else. Well, really the same section on the track as everybody else, of course, once they are passing through pit road. Or passing by pit road, and at least the access road that leads you back onto the racetrack. That's the part I'm trying to say, but I don't know where my brain was going. But still, Bonsinger comes out ahead of Jack Baker, and I think he probably might just have this race in the bag. Bonsinger does, but I wouldn't quite count on it. But Gavin Poley would currently be shown as your race leader. But he will have to come down pit road this time by. So he will come in. Sorry. Kind of dealing with some stuff on my phone, which probably shouldn't be, but anyways. So Poley's coming in. We might have, well, of course, Judicia will come down once she comes back around the track this time by. But it's not Jack Baker, excuse me. Alex Bonsignor goes back to the lead with now 6 laps to go. Here in the Rolex Sports Car Challenge, right here at Daytona International Speedway. My brain's kind of blanking out there. Do apologize. Jack Baker still sitting in second. Thinking about having a shot, but I'm not going to quite count on it. He's still about a half second behind. A little bit more now. I'd say about 2/3. They work their way through this right-hander. And then the left-hander that's going to send him back into NASCAR Turn 1. But pretty much everybody is right where they were before. And Judicia is actually staying out on track. I think she might have already gotten pit service done when she had to get her car repaired. I think that's exactly what happened. But nonetheless, pretty much everything remains the same. We'll give you your top 10 running order one more time. Once these leaders cross the start-finish line and take 5 laps to go. I believe Poli might have rejoined. Yep, right here with Steve Orton. So top 10, once they cross the start-finish line, they'll take 5 laps to go. Bonsignor, your leader. Jack Baker currently sits in second still. Wetterdall goes back to third, then Jumiaka fourth, Joshua Cornish fifth. And then moving up into the 6th position. How about that? Moving up a little bit more inside of the top 10. Gavin Poli 6th, Steve Orton 7th, Jareth Hayden 8th, Zach Visser 9th, and Glenn Richardson's back inside of the top 10. Get a little bit squirrely there, but manages to keep the car straight, and we're still going. But nobody's been able to, not even Baker's been able to wrestle the lead away from Alex Bonsignor. Very surprising. That's honestly very surprising to me. And unless if we have more of mistakes happen out on the racetrack, lap traffic is not really going to be much of a factor. So it's going to be very interesting to see how. The finish of this one is going to turn out. But I don't really see anything completely Jurassic happening at the finish. I think Bonsignor is pretty much going to have this in the bag. Here they come to 4 laps to go this time by. And that's just going to, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I think this is just another lap that's going to be put on the board here for Alex Bonsignor. 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. Had a little bit of a phlegm buildup again. Couple tenths have been put on. Maybe a couple hundredths, I'd say, but there really hasn't been much of a big difference there. Jack Baker's doing everything he can to try to reel in Alex Bonsignor, but Bonsignor, with that veteran experience, he knows exactly what he's doing. Trying to hold everybody at bay, more particularly Jack Baker. Trying to do everything he can to conserve his tires, but at this point, these drivers are good to go the rest of the way. But nonetheless, they'll be coming around to 3 laps to go. Let's take a look back through the field and see if there's any other kind of action going on the racetrack. Mats Clausen at 01. Who, remember, started way in the back in this race. 32nd. Already up into the 18th position. He's trying to challenge Tristan Leonard for that 17th spot, right around mid-pack. But Leonard having none of it. A little bit of dirt getting kicked up there. David Cornish trying to get by the 25. I believe the 25 car. Yes, it is Ryan Gondillo, another driver that will be competing on the WLA circuit part-time, attempting all the races for his own team. Well, EGI affiliated as well. GG Motorsports. And I want to wish him the best of luck. Once we get to Kalamazoo Speedway, he'll also be attempting to make the Clash at Kalamazoo, so want to wish him the best of luck. But he is starting to slip back quite a ways. You saw him lose a spot there to, I believe that was the, whoops, that's the wrong button. One of them was David Cornish. He lost another spot to Luke Fronchak. Then he lost a spot to Brooke Cross in that 49. He might lose another one to Felix Jensen here if he's not careful. Got another battle on track for position that's kind of brewing up here. Zachary Fitzwater trying to get by Matthew Fales for position. That's for the 20. Well, Fitzwater's trying to get the 27th spot back, but he's currently sitting in 28th. And Seth Roush, unfortunately, did not have a good stop whatsoever. He went from 6th all the way back to now currently holding on to 29th position. That is a tough, tough break for Seth Roush. Here they come to 2 laps to go. Alex Bonsignor, as I mentioned, unless if that car has some sort of mechanical issue between now and the last lap, he's coming home a winner. And unless if Jack Baker has anything to say, Bonsignor is coming home a winner. Nonetheless. Pretty much nonetheless. I would not count on Bonsignor making too many mistakes here between now and this white flag lap, which will happen next time by. Just taking a scroll through the field real quick once again. But yeah, not much has really happened other than Gondola losing some positions that last lap. He might lose one more here to Felix Jensen if he's not careful. A lot of drivers getting really squirrely through those S's. And Marion Judicia is not going to be a factor. These drivers are already working their way through NASCAR's turns 1 and 2. She's already working her way into the infield road course turn 1. So definitely lap traffic will not be a factor here between now and the finish of this one. They work their way through the chicane. Back up into NASCAR turn 3 and 4. They'll be faced with the white flag when we come back around. Alex Bonsignor, the man who has pretty much dominated this race, put on a clinic. Going through the chicane and back up on the racetrack. White flag in the air. One more lap to go here at Daytona. Bonsignor leads. And unless if something else happens, unless if anything happens to him, Bonsignor might very well just be leading, coming back to the checkered flag this time by. But I really do not see Jack Baker pulling any sort of crazy move here on the last lap, but you never quite know. But on the flip side of the coin, it's pretty hard to make a move on somebody like Alex Bonsignor, who could definitely see that move like dive bombing into this next corner coming from a mile away. But Baker tried it though. But at the same time, I think he was holding a little bit too much back. They get ready to go up into NASCAR turns 1 and 2 for the final time. Perfect for Bonsignor and also Jack Baker as well. But these front two have pulled away by about 5 seconds over third place Henrik Wedderdahl, who sits comfortably in that third spot, who, as I said, sits pretty comfortably in that third spot from Takeuchi Miyaka, about a half second back. Bonsignor and Baker go through the chicane one last time, back through NASCAR turns 3 and 4. Bonsignor will be another driver that will be competing full-time in the WLA Pepsi Cup Series circuit for a third season, as he comes off of turn number 4, through the chicane one last time, back up to the start-finish line. Alex Bonsignor will win the Rolex Sports Car Challenge here in Daytona. Bonsignor just took everybody to school, old and young. And Alex Bonsignor gets the first win of 2023, at least on this channel. And Jack Baker impressively comes home in the second position. You see in third, Henrik Wedderdahl comes home fourth. Tico Jumiaka, or third, excuse me. Jumiaka comes home fourth. David Cornish fifth. And then it's Poli, Orton, Hayden, Visser, Richardson, the top 10. And as these drivers come back around into the pits and Bonsignor makes his way to victory lane, let's take a look at the two incidents that happened. First of all, the skid marks that happened way earlier in the race. And then the number 51, what happened to Miriam Judicia very late in the going here in this event. Let's take a look. Well, there were two cars that ended up going sideways through these S's. First of all, the number 73 car. That would be Noah Zwar. Zwar goes sideways first, then Mads Clausen. Both of them make some pretty minor contact with that inside wall, but Evelyn Zettelmeyer did a fantastic job getting by Noah Zwar, and Steve Orton actually did a pretty good job getting by both of these drivers. But nonetheless, it didn't... I wouldn't say that the damage actually did a serious number to Clausen's car. He ended up coming home just inside of the top 20. And Zwar, I'm not sure if he got a good result, but still nonetheless, they all kept going. This is from Evelyn Zettelmeyer's perspective, the visor camera. You're going to see that 73 break loose. And great heads-up driving from Evelyn Zettelmeyer. Didn't panic. And just kept going, kept the car going straight, didn't jerk the wheel to the right. And she kept going, and she set herself en route for a pretty good finish. Now the second and last incident that we've seen, that we kind of saw the aftermath to, not Evelyn Zettelmeyer, but Miriam Judicia. Let's see what happened to her, where she got, and see where she got her damage. So the damage came from the second round of green flag pit stops. You see Miriam Judicia taking right side tires, and then, Gavin Poli nearly, Poli nearly hit the 51, but I think that's Seth Roush. Roush ended up getting jacked up pretty good there. Wow, that was actually a pretty bizarre incident that happened on pit road. I'm surprised that didn't really do too much to Roush's car. Yeah, I mean, I do see the door, the passenger side door was a little bit bent up, but that's actually really interesting. But more so bizarre than anything. So this is Miriam Judicia's perspective. You see she takes two tires as a strategy call. Nearly gets hit in the back. But then right here, hits the 911 pretty hard. Man, that was a pretty vicious lick into the passenger side door. But tough break for Miriam Judicia. Not going to get this 2023 season started off on a high note. And she'll definitely have to go back to the drawing board for this one. But very tough break for Judicia nonetheless. Well, here are positions 11th through 33rd. You'll see them scrolling on the left-hand side of your screen. We've already shown you your top 10 results. But, man, everybody finished the race. Nobody went a lap down. Nobody smelled where the rock was cooking. I'd say for the minimal amount of incidents that we've had ourselves a very, very calm, smooth, and clean Rolex Sports Car Challenge, I'd say. Not too bad here for all these other 33 competitors, but for some of them, unfortunately, they may have to go back to the drawing board. But when it comes to, well, sometimes pitch strategy and sometimes other drivers making some rookie mistakes. Seth Roush, unfortunately, that was not the brightest move in the whole wide world, but he is still a rookie, so we'll have to cut him a little bit of slack. But all right, that's going to pretty much do it for coverage right here at the Daytona International Speedway, at least for now. If you join us back here on this next Sunday, we'll have ourselves the Busch Clash for the Throwback Daytona 500 pole qualifying. At least the results will come later that Sunday. The Busch Clash will happen at noon Eastern. Then we'll have practice for Monday and Tuesday for all 52 cars to get on track for the Daytona 500, or at least Daytona 500 practice. Wednesday will be off. Thursday will be the Twin 125s. Friday will be final practice for the Daytona 500, and then that next Sunday, February 12th, will be the Daytona 500. So definitely got a lot coming to you guys here and in these next couple of weeks. So might want to set your notifications on for this channel. So it's definitely going to be really wild and interesting. But nonetheless, that's pretty much going to do it from Daytona. I want to thank you guys a lot for watching. If you guys like this, be sure to give it a like. And if you haven't considered subscribing yet, recommend you do so to keep up with some fine content coming out in the near future. And that pretty much does it for us. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you right back here this next Sunday for the Busch Clash and Daytona 500 pole qualifying.